In this lecture, we'll start with the concept of distributed consensus and how this distributed consensus is somewhat tougher, and what are the different categories in which this consensus problem have been organized in the conventional distributed networks. Then we'll relate those concepts to the blockchain consensus, especially whenever the public blockchains are there. Any participant or any user can join the network at any time and may participate in the blockchain activity and can leave the network. So such kind of networks are said to be public networks, or public in case of blockchain, those are said to be public blockchains. So in such public blockchains, to create a block, obviously there should be a consensus between the participants of the network. If there is no consensus, then the block cannot be created and cannot be added to the blockchain or appended to the blockchain. So first, in order to do that, first of all, one must know the basics of the distributed consensus algorithms that will be used in the distributed networks. Then what are the different blockchain consensus algorithms were there, and how they will work. What are the blockchain frameworks that uses those consensus algorithms and their comparison. These are the things we will discuss in this lecture. So let will go for introduction of this distributed consensus. It is a common aspect in distributed networks to reach a common agreement on message passing among the agents or processes involved. So distributed consensus is nothing but reaching to an agreement. It is just like four of your friends want to go to a restaurant and to take lunch or dinner. Now these you four went to a restaurant and sat there, just picked up the menu and want to order some food. So there may be it may be a special day for one of your friend has ordered one thing and asked that fellow will go for taking of this particular item. So among these four members, how many of you will agree to an item to eat in the restaurant? So this is what the thing, that if everyone has ordered for different item, then obviously there is no consensus between these four members. But if three members have told okay, we'll go for one item and we'll eat this particular item, then that means out of four, three has given the vote for this particular item to eat. So that means here out of four, three members reached the consensus. Remaining one person have not reached to the eating of the item. So in the same way here, whenever a process or whenever something is happened, so here especially the consensus has to be achieved between the participants. Otherwise that particular transaction or event or message cannot be committed in the distributed environment. So this here committing, it may be a user input or user query or user or maybe any transaction that was generated in the distributed environment. So this cannot be committed in the environment unless until there is no consensus. So it is a common aspect in distributed network to reach a common agreement on a message passing among the agents involved in the network. For example, if you consider there are four generals in the battlefield, and the first general via walkie-talkie, he informed the second general that third general that go for attack, and third general over the walkie-talkie to the general 4 in some other location informed that go for attack after getting the instruction from G1. Okay, and G4 has given the instruction to G2 over the walkie-talkie that go for attack, and G2 has given no, don't go for attack and go for retreat. So that means here four different commands are there in which four different commanders are there who are in the battlefield in different locations, and they are communicating via wireless medium, and they are giving their instructions to proceed or to have a synchronization between the troops, army troops in a battlefield. So after listening to these three attacks and one retreat, okay, here three commanders or three generals have depended on the attack, but one has said that retreat. Whether to go to the attack or retreat is a big issue now. That means three messages are of same type, but one message is different type. Now whether the activity to be performed is to be attack or retreat, this is a big question. So this is mostly involved that generals may apply a choice function to reach a consensus on the decision. So now the G1 told G1 told G3 that go for attack. G3 told G4 that go for attack. G4 told G2 to go for attack. So G2 may inform to G1 that okay, I received two attack signals from G3 and G4, and G4 may inform that okay, I have received two attack signals from G3 and G1. So then all put together, over the messages that received by G1, three attacks are there and one retreat is there, and he may apply a maximum function or a choice function called max. So here attacks are more than the retreat, so then we can go for attack. In the same way, G4, if you look at the number of attacks he got is two attacks, so there is no choice function to decide, so he can only go for attack. So that means here the generals may apply a choice function to reach the consensus on the decision. That means that the majority will be chosen to proceed further generally in the distributed networks for committing any transaction. So this particular consensus is required in any distributed network, especially to achieve the reliability and fault tolerance in the system. Reliability means okay, the system should not be undergraded or something, okay, and if something has happened, then it should be in a position to revoke. So this kind of property is said to be reliability and fault tolerance. These properties must be achieved, can be achieved with the help of this consensus. If there is no proper consensus, then the system is not reliable and also system is not fault tolerant also, because we cannot make anything accountable in that system if there is no proper consensus. So in general, consensus is a very difficult task to achieve. Here we have seen only four generals or four commanders, but in a battlefield many people will be there, and in general in the distributed networks many users will involve. So hence individuals in distributed network need to agree upon a common thing. However, these individuals may be sometimes faulty or malicious. Who knows that G2 may be sold to some other party, so or G2 may be in favor of some other thing. So here we can't predict that whether G2 is also a genuine one or not. Even G1 given as attack, G3 also said attack, G4 also said attack, but G2 has given retreat. So however, these individuals may be faulty or malicious. In a public network like Bitcoin, any user can join the system network, or any user can leave the network at any time. In such a cases, who will join and who will leave, and all these users' identity will be totally anonymous. Hence, we cannot point out who is coming into the system and who is doing what. So, and also we cannot know what is their background, whether they have come with the intention of disturbing the system or without any, or genuinely they want to participate in the network. So that is the reason these individuals may be faulty or malicious. In such a cases, it is more difficult to achieve the consensus. So here another thing, the same thing we have seen in one direction, but in the reverse direction. So in the reverse direction, that G1 has given attack to G3, and G3 has given the command attack to G4. G4 has given command attack to G2, but G2 has given the command attack to G1. But in case, but at the same time, G1 also has given the attack command to G2, but he has given retreat as a command. That means something is fishy in this particular entire network. Okay, and G1 has to figure out, okay, who is faulty. If such kind of faulty things are there, now it is a very difficult now it is very difficult time for G1 to decide to go for attack or retreat. So this kind of problems will come in the distributed networks, and the reason is all the participating users or participants may not be genuine. They may be faulty or malicious. So consensus in the system is nothing but, if no failure in the system, it is easy to achieve the consensus. For example, if there is no communication from G2, so there are 4 generals in the battlefield, and they want to give the commands over the communication, wireless communication, and G1 from G1, G2, G4, the communication is going on, but G2 communication is not there. So how these 3 remaining commanders or generals have to move forward? That is a very difficult task. So they don't know what happened at that point or in that particular post. Okay, it is very difficult to get the information. In the same way, the one who are joining in the network and want to participate in the consensus activity, if the key consensus activity to be performed by a user, and if the user system was failed, then it is very difficult for remaining entire network to reach to a consensus. If no failure in the system, it is easy to achieve the consensus. It can be done by, usually it will be done by like this, broadcasting the personal choice, like how the generals have sent their own personal choice, and apply a choice function, example max of all values, to achieve a consensus. So here 3 attacks were there and 1 retreat is there. Okay, no problem. We can go for attack. So consensus can be achieved in one. That is, consensus can be achieved in distributed networks only when there is no failure, and also the network should be synchronized. Okay, receiving messages in correct time intervals is said to be synchronized. That means G1, G2, G1, G3, G4 in proper synchronization, and G2 should also be in proper synchronization, but he was not in proper synchronization. Even after repeated commands, G2 is not giving any response, and after taking the decision by G1, G3 and G4, G2 then sent the message. Then this kind of things will not result into proper consensus. So that is the reason the condition for achieving any consensus regarding the transactions in the distributed network is, first thing is there should not be any failure in the system. Second one is the network should be synchronized. In these 2 cases only consensus can be achieved. So what are the faults in distributed systems? In what way the faults can be happened? The faults can be happened because we have seen consensus can be achieved if there is no failure. But in general, how failures will come? The failures may come in these 3 ways. One is crash fault. A node in the distributed system may get crashed and may not be available during the communication. In such a cases also, this fault will occur. Next one is network or partition fault. Failure of communication links between 2 nodes may disjoin the network. Obviously, in one may using wired network, another may using wireless network. Because of some weather condition or maybe any other condition, if there is no wireless connectivity, then network partitions comes, then it will disjoin the network. In that case also, the faults will come. Next one is Byzantine faults. So nodes in the distributed system start acting maliciously. This is called Byzantine fault. In the first two cases are natural. The first two cases, crash fault, network or partition fault, are natural in general. But the third one is a difficult one, which is called Byzantine fault, where node will join the network and maybe intentionally it may not give response, or it may start acting maliciously. So this is the very difficult thing to observe in the distributed network. So entire blockchain, we have seen that networking concept in the blockchain, it is a kind of decentralized peer-to-peer, and also the achieving to the linking to the blockchain will also be in the form of distributed manner. So these are all things we have seen, and also the consensus in the blockchain will be achieved in the distributed way by whoever involved in the blockchain network can also participate in the consensus process. These are all we have seen previously. So the first and second can be considered as the natural one, but in the third case, the entire blockchain is focusing on. Thereby, they are developing specialized consensus protocols to overcome these Byzantine faults. So before going to this next topic of the various consensus protocols, let us see the properties of distributed consensus in general. So all the distributed consensus protocols, whatever it may be, should have the following properties. One is termination. Every node decide on a value at the time of termination. So whatever the node who joins in the network must decide on a value. Okay. So whether it is going to terminate or whether it is time is up or related to the decision making. So, but the end of the time, the every node must decide on a particular value. Validity. A node proposes a value, then all correct nodes decide on the value. So in the previous case, G1 has told that attack, but remaining all should also focus on the same, should also agree on the same command called attack. But here G2 is giving different command called retreat. So this should hold, validity should hold. All nodes proposes a value, then all correct nodes. All nodes proposes a value, then all correct nodes, means who are genuine, must decide on a value. So thereby what will happen? Majority wins. So majority of the commanders in the battlefield is going for the attack. So that means we can say that all these people are genuine in nature. It's just like that. Integrity. Every correct node decide in a value, and the decide value must be proposed by an individual node. So out of 4 members who went to the restaurant, okay, so one will propose an item to decide, to eat especially. So every correct node decide in a value, and the decide value must be proposed by an individual node. And one more thing is agreement. Every correct node must agree on the same value. So these are the 4 properties must be holded in any consensus algorithm. So we require in the blockchain especially synchronous nature of communication. That means all the nodes must be in synchronous during the participation of or performing the consensus or to achieve to consensus. So here in general distributed networks there are 2 categories. One is synchronous networks or synchronous system, and another is asynchronous system. Synchronous system, message must receive in a specific time delay. That means it is just like whenever you send a hello message, okay, immediately the related acknowledgement should come. Instead, if it is pending for 2 minutes or 3 minutes, then some message comes as a reply, then it cannot be said as synchronous system. Synchronous system is like live chat, when the 2 persons will sit in different places and they are directly communicating. This is what synchronization. Our telephonic conversation is also synchronization. Both can talk at a time. So while coming to the asynchronous system, usually the message passing system, this is also called as a message passing system. Here no minimum limit for receiving the message. Having consensus is a very difficult in the asynchronous system. For example, if four of the friends want to decide on the item to eat, if all four was there at a time, then it is easy to decide on a particular item. Otherwise, one person is in some other corner, another person is in another corner. So you have to synchronize all the people, then you have to decide on an item to eat. So that is the reason asynchronous system having some problem like this. It's actually a message passing system, no minimum limit for receiving the messages. Having consensus in the system is also very difficult task. And this is the principle defined by FLP, Fisher, Link, and Patterson. This is a very famous theorem in the distributed networks, which is also called as impossibility theorem. It says that if there is a single point of failure, then there is no deterministic algorithm to solve the consensus problem. In any network, if there is a single point of failure occurs, then it showed that there is no deterministic algorithm available so far, that is by 1985 it is, to solve the consensus problem. Till today it is true, because if any single point of failure occurred, then achieving consensus is a difficult task. So that is the reason most of the consensus protocols will go by majority. So if majority of the opinions are fall true, are holded, then the transactions will be committed. So here is the failure model and the trade-off for reaching consensus. It was taken from the core concepts, challenges, and future directions in blockchain paper. So here, if you can consider the Byzantine failures in permissionless environment. Permissionless environment is a private environment. Permissionless environment means it's a public environment. That means there is no permission required. So public blockchains, in these public blockchains, Byzantine failures in authentication in authenticated environment is a subset. So we have also seen that Byzantine failures is nothing but users who involve in the system with some malicious intent or faulty intent. And in this crash failures are the subset of the entire set, that is our subset of this Byzantine failure in authenticated environment. So that means effect will be more to the distributed networks if there exists a failure by the authenticated environment, if there exists a crash failure in the authenticated environment. That means the one who proved his authentication and joined the network and that system was failed, then there will be a problem. That is what the idea of this particular diagram. And traditional distributed systems and permissioned blockchains. Okay, here these are the trade-off for reaching the consensus. The diagram has been given like this. Especially these crash failures within the Byzantine failure in authenticated environment. In that cases, these crash failures will play a major role. So failure models and trade-off in reaching consensus. This is another diagram taken from the same paper. So crash failure plus asynchronous environment. So just now, as I told you, the FLP problem or impossibility theorem, deterministic consensus is impossible. In such a cases, what to do? There are two alternatives. One is for the traditional distributed systems and permissioned blockchains. Permissioned means private blockchains. Public blockchains, there are another category. In the private blockchains, synchronous or partially synchronous environment communication based protocols will be used, such as Paxos, PBFT are the two protocols that are popularly that are used in this particular environment. So in this synchronous or partially synchronous environment. Okay. While coming to the public blockchains, those are completely asynchronous environment. Asynchronous environment, you don't have the regular communication here. Usually, any user can join at any time. There is no rule that all users should be in should be online or should be in a position to attend at a time to reach to the consensus, because the one who want to perform the Bitcoin trading or mining may join the network. Whenever he don't want to do that, he may leave the network. So in such a cases, the public blockchains are like the asynchronous environment. So computation based protocols are majorly used in the case of asynchronous environment, such as proof of work, in which some work will be assigned to the one who want to participate in the consensus. The work has to be done and the result has to be returned, as we have seen in the cryptographic hash functions, like hash puzzle. This kind of puzzles will be given to the to the participants in the consensus protocol during in the public blockchains, and they have to solve that particular problem, and the result has to be returned to the system, so that system will verify easily whether the solution what they got is correct or not. This kind of technique is said to be the proof of work technique. So proof of work technique has been popularly used in the Bitcoin as well as in the Ethereum, and for solving this particular problem and getting the result, they may also offer some incentives for doing this particular work. So that is the reason you might have seen Bitcoin mining is giving some profits and all. So that is what the idea behind that. The miners will do this proof of work concept, and once they successful in this proof of work, then they will get some incentives in terms of Bitcoins. And solving this puzzle is also a very difficult task, and require a lot of huge computing power and also energy. So the permissionless blockchain means private blockchains. Everybody will be available at a particular point to take decision. So that is the reason these are permission blockchains, and it's also synchronous in nature. So in case of private blockchains, whenever you use this synchronous or partially synchronous environment based communication protocols, the consensus reaching to a consensus or to reaching to an agreement is deterministic. It's a fixed, it's deterministic. You can say that, okay, we can easily reach to this transaction if the transaction can be easily verified. But in case of asynchronous environment, in case of FLP85, it will be leading into the non-deterministic consensus. Predicting of consensus is very difficult. If we cannot predict some agreement, obviously there will be multiple directions to go. So that multiple directions to take the decision, that multiple decisions are said to be the forks. So forks are majorly possible if you use public blockchain, and if you use the when there exists a crash fault or crash failure in the environment. So I hope by this time you come to know the failure models trade-off in reaching the consensus whenever this impossibility theorem holds, and for in the case of public blockchains, it is the decision making on the coming to the consensus is completely non-deterministic and will lead to forks. While coming to the private blockchains, since they are synchronous and very few users will be there who are having the control and command over the network, and because of the use of the communication based protocols like Paxos and PBFT. PBFT means practical Byzantine fault tolerant algorithm. This kind of algorithms will give us deterministic consensus in the distributed environment or blockchain environment. So in the traditional distributed consensus protocols usually are based on the message passing and also shared memory. Message passing means it requires a closed environment to work. Also should know the identity of the node to which the message is transmitted. Then only this method works. Shared memory means there will be a shared memory. Everybody will try to put their value in the shared memory, and while writing into the memory, there will be a protection, just like in operating system, how you use the semaphores concept before manipulating into the memory. Just like that, the same shared memory concept will be used here. And because of the shared memory, there is a problem of deadlocks and starvation, and also it must be resulted using the synchronization. Deadlock resolution techniques. So these are the most difficult things that need to be used in the shared memory concept. So both shared memory and message passing are not suitable for consensus in the open systems. For example, public blockchains are there; those are open systems. So various other consensus protocols that can be used are Paxos, Raft, and PBFT. In the previous diagram we have seen these are best suited for the private networks or private blockchains. We'll see some important things in this. Paxos and Raft are crash-tolerant consensus algorithms. PBFT is the Byzantine fault-tolerant implementation. And while coming to the newer version of Tendermint cryptocurrency, uses the PBFT. Quorum is a private blockchain that uses the Paxos and Raft. So like that, different cryptocurrencies are using different protocols based upon the type of blockchain application they are. If they are private, they are mostly preferring the PBFT and Raft, Paxos, this kind of things, especially for voting. While coming to the IBM Hyperledger will also use PBFT. While coming to the Bitcoin, will use the proof of work concept. While coming to Ethereum, also will use the proof of work concept in the public environment. When the Ethereum was launched for the public networks, so Ethereum can also be used in the for developing public and private and also permissioned applications. So whenever the public applications were there you can also use the proof of work concept. So consensus algorithms in blockchain, we'll go for the various consensus algorithms available. One is proof of work. It's a very famous one which was started from the Bitcoin blockchain network onwards. It is a main strategy used in the Bitcoin network. It's a very complicated communication process in the authentication. Just to recall the crypto puzzles or authentication hash puzzles that we discussed during the hashing algorithms. Nodes calculate hash value of the constantly changing block header. It's a somewhat difficult one, and that particular hash value will be used in solving the puzzles also. The consensus require that the calculated value must be equal to or smaller than the given value. Nodes that calculate the hash value or calculate the hashes are called as miners. And the proof of work procedure is called mining. That means finding the appropriate hash value for the given hash puzzle. This particular calculation will be done by the miners, and the entire procedure of calculation and giving the answer is said to be the mining process. Once the resultant is correct, or result is correct, then the block will be created and will be added to the blockchain. In a decentralized network, valid blocks might be generated simultaneously when multiple nodes find suitable nonce nearly at the same time. It results into the blockchain structure as shown as follows. So here at this moment, two miners found the same nonce value for the puzzle. Then that miner will also submit, and second miner will also submit with a little difference. So that is the reason, based upon the decision made here, one block may be one direction of the block may be created, and here another route of blocks will be created for the second miner. So this particular problem will come, and this particular problem is said to be the fork. That means it is not going in the straight direction. Instead, because of the solving of the puzzle at the same time, the second miner might have added his own block to the previous block. So here B10 is the previous block. Actually, the first miner has added like this, second miner done like this. But in the coming time, so new blocks may be created. For example, if the new blocks were appended at the first miner block, next to the first miner block, like that, if you keep on going, then after at least 6 additions of the block, whatever is the longest chain is available, that chain will be considered as the main chain to the blockchain. But the rest of the nodes, which are the rest of the nodes are there, which are connected to the fork, those will be discarded from the blockchain. and the transactions again to be validated and to be added in the later blocks. So this is what the main problem in the proof of work concept. The first one is solving of the puzzle is a very difficult one, and so much processing and energy is required, and also there is a lot of chance of forks. The reason is, as was given here, because of the crash faults, failures in the synchronous environment, whenever it is used in the public blockchain, then the non-deterministic consensus may be achieved, thereby it is leading into the forks. So these are the main problems with the proof of work. However, currently I am not discussing in deep of proof of work. We'll see during the Bitcoin case study totally from the scratch how this proof of work will be happened, and how the hash puzzles and how the complexity of the hash puzzles takes place will look like in the proof of work. All these concepts we will see in the Bitcoin case study. Other consensus protocols are like this: proof of work, as we have seen just now. Next one is proof of stake. It asks the people to prove the ownership of the amount of currency. So if you say that, okay, I am holding some 10 Bitcoins, so you should be in a position to show your proof that you are exactly having 10 Bitcoins and you are the real owner of the 10 Bitcoins. Then only they will be allowed to enter the consensus process. It provides the increased protection, because executing attack is expensive, because you have to put your stake, that is, your amount should be placed there. If anything, if you are trying to do some malicious activity or a faulty activity, then your amount will be gone. So the reason executing attack is so expensive, and reduced incentives for attack. If you try to do some attack, then your incentives will be reduced, because in the proof of work, for solving the problem, they will give some incentives. Okay, so such incentives will be reduced in case of proof of stake. Some variants of proof of stake are like this: randomization in the combination of stake. So if 10-15 members are having the highest number of currency coins with them, then they will take a randomization. This particular system will make a randomization and will pick up some interested people from that, and they will ask you to go for verification or creation of the block. Another one is coin age, the number of coins multiplied by the number of days the coin have been held. That means if I hold some 100 Bitcoins or cryptocurrency coins for a long time, then I may not be given preference based upon the coin age, the number of coins multiplied by the number of days that person is having that. So based on that, this consensus will be allowed, or the person will be allowed to the consensus process. So it's especially this is used in the peer coin. This is a cryptocurrency. Peer coin is one kind of cryptocurrency. In that, this particular method has been introduced. Next one is delegated proof of stake. Proof of stake is direct democratic, while delegated proof of stake is a representative democratic. So direct democratic is nothing but all other participants will involve, and from the participants who are having the major hold, they will be elected as the representatives for the consensus process. That is called direct democratic. For example, electing prime minister is a direct democratic. Okay, and representative democratic is nothing but electing president, especially in India. So for electing president, directly citizens will not involve in this. The MPs and remaining people will involve in this. While coming to the electing a member of parliament or a member of legislative assembly, citizens will involve. So that is called direct democratic. So proof of stake is a direct democratic, and delegated proof of stake is the representative democratic. So here, the one who are having main hold, okay, they may give the they may elect somebody to take the charge for the block creation. So delegated proof of stake is the backbone of BitShare. This is one more cryptocurrency, BitShare. You share in decentralized exchange. Okay, this is what the kind of BitShare blockchain. For that, this is the backbone for this. Next one is practical Byzantine fault tolerance. So in this replication algorithm to tolerate Byzantine problem will be there. In this three phases will be there. One is pre-prepared phase, prepared phase, and commit phase. In the pre-prepared phase, everything will be checked first, pre-verification will be done. And the prepared phase, the general calculation of okay, how many acceptances and how many rejectance, this kind of things will be done based upon the majority, or maybe because of the choice function, the committing will take place. Could handle up to 1/3 malicious Byzantines. So in a system around 100 members are there, means if 30 members are malicious, still it in a position to commit the transactions. Next one is proof of burn. Miners should show proof that they have burned some coins. That means not only holding coins, but also they are spending some coins. That also should be shown. In case of proof of stake, that means they are holding the coins. But how long they have to hold? They can simply acquire the coin and they can keep there with them. If you keep on acquiring the coin and keep with you, then obviously there is no transactions, or there may not be any transactions outside. So obviously it will result into a disaster. So that is the reason there is a method. Another method has been developed, which is called proof of burn. So in this, miners should show proof that they have burned some coins. It can be done via sending coins to a verifiable unspendable address. It's not sensing, it's sending coins to a verifiable unspendable address. That means here the address will not exist, but you are supposed to send to that address. It is just like in your bank transactions. If you have done the transaction by mistake to any wrong account, that account does not exist, for example, then your amount may be deducted first, but after 2 or 3 hours again it will be credited back. Just like that, you are supposed to send to some unspendable address, so that means it is showing that you are burning some coins like that. So it will believe that okay, you are doing some transactions like that. So thereby such users will be elected to join in the consensus process. Another one is proof of elapsed time. This was proposed by Intel Corporation. Each participant in the Bitcoin network waits for a random amount of time. The first participant who finishes the waiting time first becomes the leader for the next block. So how the system or how the network will come to know that okay, they have waited for some random amount of time. So that means the miner or the user who want to participate in the consensus process has to use this particular system designed by the Intel. So Intel utilizes the CPU instruction set, in which you will be having an instruction set called Intel Software Guard Extension. A trusted execution platform will be there. That platform based hardwares must be used by the miners. Then only when in the mining process is going on, that hardware, what it will do is it will generate a random number, and it will generate a random number, and it will not allow the user to do anything during the time. So thereby other systems who are also with the same software guard extension, trusted execution platform, will easily come to know that because of the same hardware, they will come to know that okay, this person has spent this much amount of time without doing any activity, and based upon that, that person will be given the chance to create the block in the network. So this trusted code is very private to the rest of the applications, so that no other applications can access this trusted code, because it is a hardware built. It's not software built, it's completely hardware built. So the one who want to participate in this proof of elapsed time has to use the Intel hardware for this purpose. Next one is proof of authority. A subset of nodes on the node network are designated as fully trusted validators. Each validator takes a turn acting as the leader for the given time. This particular proof of authority don't have the penalties like proof of stake. So in the proof of stake we have penalties. That is, if there is a trying of attack, then the stake will be lost, and some incentives will also be lost. So this kind of penalties are not there, and also incentives are also not there. Only authority is the thing, but from the network, some designated people will be taken and they will be given rights to act as the leaders to create the block. So that is the reason it is most suitable for the permission blockchains or private blockchains. Private blockchains means you can also create one private blockchain under your control. Next one is Ripple. This is also a cryptocurrency. It utilized the current collectively trusted subnetworks within a network. So some trusted subnetworks was taken in the network. It's just like proof of authority only. Here some nodes will be given like that. Ripple is a very big one in which some trusted networks will be taken, and they will be given charge to go for this consensus process. In this, two concepts will be there: server participate in the consensus, client transfer the funds. These servers are trusted. This, okay, again it is coming as a centralized approach only, but they have some consensus work to be done by the servers. So that is in this way, this is a kind of consensus protocol. And unique node list is maintained by the server to query about transaction. Ledger is created if the agreement have reached 80%. So here majority should reach 80% to create into the ledger. Another currency that uses a type of consensus protocol is called Tendermint. In this, like PBFT as pre-prepared phase, prepared phase, commit phase, like that here also pre-vote phase, pre-commit phase, and commit phase. So this same technique kind of thing, but in a voting procedure they will use. And some other consensus protocols like new consensus algorithms such as peer consensus, greedy heaviest observed subtree, ghost, chain selection rule, and others. These are the other protocols developed based upon the complexities that are arised in the consensus process. So there is no fixed, there is no thing that okay, you have to use only this consensus algorithm. Anyone, depending upon their application requirement, they may use the standard one, or they may also developing the new things and maybe are incorporating in their blockchain frameworks. And here is the comparison of different consensus protocols. This comparison also taken from the same paper like core concepts, challenges, and future directions in blockchain. Here property, blockchain type, peer network step, scalability. Scalability means how long, for how many participants this particular consensus protocol work. That is what we call scalability. Transaction throughput, that means how many blocks can be generated over a time. Next is transaction finality, cost for participation, adversary tolerance, that means how many malicious nodes it can tolerate, anonymous participants, trust model, limitations, and example attacks. So proof of work, it's a blockchain, it's a particular consensus protocol, especially used for the public blockchains. And scalable, while coming to the proof of stake, it can be used for both private and public blockchains. And proof of elapsed time, which was developed by the Intel, especially depending upon the Intel instruction set in the hardware, it can be used for the both public and private blockchain. Proof of authority can be suitable only for the private blockchains. Paxos, Raft, PBFT, according to the diagram also we have seen, they are also for the permission blockchain. Peer network scalability, proof of work is very high, proof of stake is also high. Proof of elapsed time is medium, that means it's not that much scalable because many computers with same Intel hardware is involved, so you have to go through the verification process according to the hardware level. So the scalability is somewhat medium. Proof of authority is also medium. While coming to the private blockchains, that is such as Paxos, Raft, PBFT variants, scalability is also very low. Transaction throughput, proof of work low, proof of stake high, POET is medium, proof of authority is high, and Paxos is high. Like this, proof of work reaching the finality is probabilistic, and proof of stake is also probabilistic. POET also probabilistic. While coming to the authority and Paxos, Raft and PBFT, absolute, because deterministic. We have seen in the diagram here. These are the deterministic consensus. Like that, malicious nodes tolerance less than or equal to 50%, less than or equal to 33%, less than 33%, less than or equal to 50%. Here, less than or equal to 50% in case of Paxos and Raft, less than or equal to 33% in the case of PBFT. Anonymous property. There is no. Is there any rule that participant should reveal their identity? No. It is pseudo anonymous. Proof of stake is also pseudo anonymous. POET is no anonymous property. Proof of authority is also no. While coming to the Paxos and Raft also no. Trust model completely untrusted because no one know who is who. It is also proof of stake also completely untrusted. In POET semi-trusted because hardwares are known. Proof of authority, here also some specific people, subset of people will be taken. So there is also semi-trusted, and Paxos also semi-trusted. And here examples are selfish mining. Limitations are forks. Here proof of work will give you a lot of forks. And attacks will be like this: selfish mining, high energy consumption attacks. These are the various attacks that we'll see when we discuss the proof of work. Proof of stake, here also forks will come. Nothing at stake because no one can hold any coin here. Okay, so nothing at stake. POET limitations, here also forks will come. Must use trusted special hardware, that is Intel hardware must be used here. In case of proof of authority, must trust validators because some set of validators will be picked, so you must trust some validators. If validators might have done some mistake, we cannot do anything. Traditional distributed system limitations are applicable to the Paxos. So these are the comparisons of the distributed consensus protocols, and this is the we have seen in this general distributed networks how consensus will be achieved in the distributed consensus distributed networks, and what are the limitations, and in the case of failure in the asynchronous and synchronous systems, we have seen the FLP 85 impossibility theorem. Then we applied the same to the blockchain networks, to the public blockchain and private blockchain. We come to know that FLP, in case of FLP 85 impossibility theorem, with asynchronous, that will become the public blockchains where the consensus reaching is non-deterministic and may lead to forks. While coming to the synchronous and whenever you use the Paxos, PBFT, these kind of things, achieving consensus is deterministic. And finally, we have seen the comparison with respect to the properties of the blockchain and various consensus protocols.